I'm usually not a fan of ASMR, but I gotta admit that final segment truly was beautiful. Now, I know this video is going to be relatively short, because in the grand scheme of things, it was a very simple episode that got to the point rather quickly. But even though this video might be 5 to 8 minutes long, it does not mean that this episode was not quality, because I gotta say, this is probably one of the best episodes yet for Girls' Last Tour. So, I want to say this real quick before I carry on. If you have still yet to start this series, like for some reason you've clicked on this video and you've yet to watch Girls' Last Tour, it's a must-watch series. It's definitely a must-watch series for Fall of Anime 2017. Hands down. The atmosphere of it is just truly quality, and it's such a different tone compared to like something like, Recovery of an MMO Junkie that airs today. It's a very different tone, because MMO Junkie, it's kind of like a comfy, sweet, happy tone. This is more of a darker tone, but with a little bit of happy moments. But overall, it's very depressing in some ways, and it's thanks to the atmosphere in the world building that makes it as such. So, this episode asks, once again, another question. What is a house? Now, when we think about a house, it's relatively simple. A house is 4 walls, a roof, and a floor. Now, what is in a house? Well, it depends on the person and their style of living. You can have different types of beds. You can sleep in a chair, on a couch, furniture. There's many things. And that's the question that this episode opens up with. What is a house? And in a lot of ways, it's a very simple question, and many would automatically know what a house is. But we gotta remember something. Chi and you, they have been on the road for a while now. It's obvious that they don't really have a home anymore. They're constantly traveling, constantly journeying around and trying to scavenge for food. They don't have a home anymore. And when you see them finally take shelter and they just, get in this like abandoned looking building, it's a very interesting and sad sight. And it's kind of depressing in a way. When you see them laying back in these chairs and it's a very empty room, they start daydreaming. They start imagining if they were to settle down and make this their home. If they were to put a bookshelf here with some books on it, a bed over there, put plants all around, just decorate the room. And they were imagining things about this entire building. And this is stuff many do when they are, probably deciding to get a new house or something. When you're either going to go buy a house or rent a home or whatever, when you're going in to live in the house or the new home, basically, you will be kind of figuring out where you want to put your stuff, furniture, and that's what you and she were doing. They were figuring out where they could possibly put stuff if they were to get anything. But that is the reality of this and the sadness. The thing is, there's really nothing around. It's a wasteland. Even though there's buildings and stuff here, there's barely anything left, and even if they were to stay there, there's not enough food or anything for them to relatively survive. There's a reason why nobody lives there anymore. So it's a very sad sight. They're constantly on the move, and they never really can call anything their home. And I do like the analogy and what was stated when you was like, wait, isn't this vehicle we're riding in? Isn't this our home? And even though in some ways you could possibly say yes, it's kind of inaccurate, because that doesn't necessarily represent what a home is by definition, for instance, 4-wall ceiling and stuff. But in terms of a symbolic meaning, the vehicle does represent home, or in this case, Chi and you being together is home, because while they're together, they are basically at home with each other. What is home? Is it being with your family, or is it being in, a place, or a place that you're comfortable in? There's a lot of things you can throw on this, and it makes for a very engaging episode. So, once all was said and done, though, after that little moment, we move over into the world building, that just seen the landscape of the episode, which could really make you ponder, once again, what really happened here. Then that's what, Girls' Last Tour is really good with. It constantly makes you question what really happened in the environment. Why is there no one here? We do know that there is people still alive. We saw a dude a couple episodes back, and so we do know that people can still be alive, and it makes you question, why does no one live here anymore? Obviously because of food, but if you really look at everything, there's some obvious details to why maybe people don't live there anymore. when you look at the buildings, there's a lot of showcases of buildings throughout this episode. When, you and she, they're going through the city, you see these buildings on, like, big stilts. Like, they're on these, like, big pillars and stuff on top, and it looks really weird. Just the way the buildings are constructed, it looks really bizarre. You'd be questioning, how are you supposed to get up to these buildings when they're, like, on these big, pillars? It just doesn't make sense. But then when you realize the landscape and the environment that they're in, you could obviously assume that this entire city, at one point or time, was completely covered in water. Now, this is the big question. We do know that you and she, they're on, like, a different level. Like, there's different floors and levels to this world, different, like, cities and civilizations built upon each other, and so it makes you question, how in the world did this city get covered in water up that high when it's kind of flat? Now, you could assume it could kind of work like a table. If you pour, like, a drop or something of water on it, it just stays there and it doesn't spread across the entire table. It could be like there. That could be what's going on. But even then, though, it's obvious from the depiction of the episode that the buildings at one point in time where the pillars are, they were completely covered in water because there was just a lot of water all over the place. You had to wear these water paths and stuff, which shows like drainage. So most likely at one point in time, how people got into these buildings were thanks to boats. They probably had to, boat across to another building, which makes you wonder what happened to the water. Why did the water all disappear, and did the people leave because the water disappeared? It makes you really question. So anyways, moving into the final segment, let's talk about music. What is music? And as I said, I really like this series for the engaging questions it asks, because it really just makes you think. Even though some of the questions could be very simplistic and you could kind of have an immediate answer, it does make you think. And in this question, what is music? It seems simple, but it really isn't. There is a heavy debate over many years now. For a long time, many question what really represents music. Is it rhythm of sounds together? Could you just tapping? Could that be considered music? I mean, many have discussed this for years, for a long time now. It's a very heated topic, and I've actually gotten an argument with my friend over it on Xbox. And so music is something that it seems like it needs to have a rhythm, but if there's no singing and it just sounds like a bunch of water drops, is that necessarily music? That's the question. In this case, when you and she, they put the cans all over the place to make little sound effects with the water droplets, you could kind of assume that that is music, even though it doesn't sound like traditional music we hear in this day and age, our era of music. It's still technically considered music because of how it's organized, and there's just drops coming down and it's being modified in like a certain sequence. So it lets us know that in a way it is considered music. And I thought it was a very beautiful and subtle message to people that have constant disputes over what really clarifies as music, or classifies as music, correction. So yeah, I just like the series. I really like the series for how it tries to give these questions to us every single week. And I don't know if I'm the only one that dives into this type of stuff and is thinking about the questions and the meaning behind it, but it's just truly a fun series to watch each week thanks to stuff like this. So yeah, that's about it. It's a very simple episode, but it's a very enjoyable episode. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How'd you feel about this week's episode? How'd you feel about the comedy as well? With, how you has an empty head. That was a very good moment, I have to say. And what do you think about the dream sequence as well? The nightmare? Very creepy stuff, but just a very good episode. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, obviously please subscribe, and if you like this video, please leave a like, and if you don't like the video, obviously leave a dislike as well. I don't fault you for it, and obviously everybody has an opinion. So I love you guys, have a wonderful day or night wherever you live, stay healthy, Chibi out.